In the Facebook group now. Happy Thursday, pros. Coming to you live again. This is Pro Power Hour. This is a weekly webinar that we do every single Thursday right around this time. We started this last year as an opportunity for you all to just get some more hands-on training, some more product training with Housecall Pro. And so every Thursday we take a product or feature, or maybe a few of those, and give you kind of a full overview of what that product or feature is. Give you a demo. We've partnered with onboarding to bring you a demo of what these products and features are every week. We've covered a lot of ground, so if you've joined us in past weeks, welcome back. But if you're new here, if you're new to Housecall Pro, this is really a great resource to go back and refer to. We have a recording library, both on YouTube and in our help center. So if you're interested in going back and watching some of our past recordings on other products and features, I encourage you to do that. We'll drop the link to those in the chat so you can do that. I know last week we were here. Phil, what did we talk about last week? I'm blanking right now.
I'm blinking as well. Didn't we do so
Customer portal. Customer
that's
portal.
right.
We talked about customer portal last week. We took some QuickBooks questions a few weeks ago. So every week something different. Open to your suggestions too. So if you're new here, or if maybe you're not new to Power Hour, but you've been attending for a while, if there's something we should cover in future weeks, would love to hear about that. Today we're going to talk about the price book. There's been a lot of feedback and questions posted in the Facebook group, so I thought this would be a good time to revisit that. So Phil, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself and we'll get started.
Sounds good. I see a lot of familiar faces here in the chat. So good to see you all again. For those who don't know me, I'm Phil. I am one of the onboarding specialists here. And so if you are new to the program, you've probably talked to myself or one of my teammates. I know that I have been selfishly plugging us to all of my accounts. So I'm sure there's got to be at least one of you in here. But yeah, today we are going to go over Pricebook, which is great because I just had an account this morning reach out to me and they are having issues with their Pricebook. So uh, just the stars aligned. And so we're going to go ahead and do a full tutorial on the Pricebook. We have done this before in the past, but I will do my best to make sure that we cover just about every square inch of the Pricebook and talk a little bit about some other options that involve our Pricebook. So, as usual, I'm going to start us off with our slide deck. Just kind of hit you all with some information. Some of you may have seen this before, but again, just want to get this information out there so you can see it, read it for yourself. I'll definitely explain it. And then at the end, I will go ahead and go walk through the entire price book. And then with the time we have left, we will open the floor to any questions that show up in the chat, show up in our Facebook chat. And we also have some prepared questions that people have asked to the community team. So we've got those prepared for you as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So again, today we're just going to talk about the price book. Um, Now, what is the price book? I'm sure a lot of you have come to us from some other CRM or at least have a printout. I had somebody show me the other day a whole bunch of laminates of their price book and they just flip right through them. So I think we all know the basics of what a price book is, but in our system, it is where that you can store all of your services, store all of your materials, keep those descriptions for your services as well as your materials, and also have your prices that you charge your customers, as well as being able to have the ability to keep your internal costs for those particular services, as well as those materials, so that we can build job costing reports and make sure that we are collecting profit and not taking any jobs that are running us in the red. So yep, our price book. Usually, when I talk about it with a lot of pros that meet me, I always say is the price book is what you make of it. And today we're really going to focus more on building your own price book. Now, we do have a an add-on. I think we've definitely talked about it. I don't know if we've done a full session on it, but we have the Profit Rhino price book from Callahan and Roach. So a lot of pros that come to me when they're just getting started with the system. Some of them aren't interested in building out a price book from scratch, so that is one of the options that we have. I'm not going to go too far into Profit Rhino today, but I may talk a little bit about flat rate, just simply because in my time that I've been here and I've been onboarding people, I'm going to say about 90% of you all do flat rate pricing. But I will be able to point out specific things for the people that do not do flat rate. And as I also tell people is that for our system, we've kind of threw out a wide net to try and make sure that we get as many people, make the program as functional for as many people as we can. So for some of the people that are geared specifically towards flat rate, we definitely can help you. But then I have encountered other people that try to find workarounds for like time and materials, POs, and things like that. Um, Again, for a lot of you that know, we are constantly making improvements to our system. So price book is definitely a main focal point that we continue to work on. But again, what is the price book? Just keeping all of your services and all your materials all in one place. Now, customizing the price book, I always tell I'm going to try and my best to keep my Profit Rhino hat off here. But with the Housecall Pro price book, I find a lot of value in it. And I always talk about this even when the people ask me about what is the difference between the pre-built price book and what we have to offer in terms of your own price book. Now, obviously, with your own price book, you have more room for customization, and this allows you to really run your business the way that you either should or the way that you have been running it. And I'm definitely going to point out all the little moving pieces that go along with it. So a couple of the main points to bring out is editing the service descriptions. I get the question all the time from pros is where do my technicians put in the description of the work that they did? I always say it's best to put it within the description. Now, within the price book, if you want to streamline this a little bit, you can pre-add those descriptions so that way your technicians can just go out there, select those options, and it's already put into the estimate or onto the job work order invoice for you. Um, you're going to see is that we have made improvements to the descriptions, and we might see touch on that a little bit on the next slide. But one of the things that we did release is having, we're in the world of AI. AI can write your description for you. Just give it a couple of suggestions, and we can go ahead and it'll create a description for you. We will see that together. Entering your pricing seems pretty self-explanatory, but as I mentioned at the beginning, we do have the ability to go ahead and put in what it is you are charging your customer, which over here we say that is the unit price. And you can also add your unit cost, which is whatever it costs you for that material or for that particular service. Adding new services. So you can always continue to add services to your price book. So as you continue to get more materials, offer more services, or maybe even a whole nother side of your business, you can always continue to keep adding to your price book. And um, uh, kind of bringing up another question from Profit Rhino that I get all the time is that if you do enlist into getting the Profit Rhino price book, I always hear, well, do I lose my price book? The answer is no. When you build your price book in Housecall, you will have it for as long as you want until you actually remove it. And adding images. I always hear this from people about they always want to include images on their estimates and invoices. Sometimes when their technicians are moving through the price book, they want to be able to see, they can visually see the particular material a lot better than they can actually like typing it out or having to search for it. So you are able to add images. And one of the questions we had today that was prepared was talking about these images. So we're going to dive into that a little bit later. So additional features and integrations with the price book. One of the things is the price book by Housecall Pro. Now, I don't want people to start thinking about that. We have a completely built price book for you already set and good to go. That is not true. I always tell everybody is that we typically start you off with, you're going to see it, is we're going to give you an industry. And within that industry, we're going to give you a couple of different subcategories with some very, very basic services that are in there. Typically, we give them to you already with a description, already with a name. There is no price and there is no picture. So we at least give you a launching point for when you want to build your price book. That is the price book with Housecall Pro. flat rate pricing, I did just touch on this a little bit a couple of minutes ago, but if you are the type of business where you incorporate your time and materials all into one lump sum, we definitely have this for you. And I will show how we can set up our flat rate pricing within our price book so that you can continue to do this. The Profit Rhino integration, you've already heard me talk about it multiple times in the 10 minutes I've been speaking. So with the Profit Rhino price book, that is specifically geared towards flat rate businesses. I have seen people that try to incorporate it mostly for the materials that are included in that book, and I don't want to really go too far into the weeds on Profit Rhino, but there is the Profit Rhino integration, which I mentioned is the price book from Callahan and Roach, and it is full of already services and materials that already have pictures, already have descriptions, and already have prices of the materials that we get from the manufacturers and base that upon a national average. The next thing in here is the service descriptions via AI, which I was just talking about. So you do have the ability as you build out your own price book is you can go into your descriptions and ask AI to go ahead and write a well-written description of the work that you did or the work that is involved with this particular service or material, and it will create it for you so you don't have to worry about trying to make it sound nice on your own. And then lastly is the pricing forms. I do believe we did do a whole session specifically on pricing forms, but I will go ahead and at least show you the pricing forms and what they are and how we can best utilize them. But for those pricing forms, as I've done a lot of training with a lot of different companies, I still find it mostly useful for more in particular cleaning companies, landscaping companies, and those are really kind of the two main ones. I have shown it to HVAC, plumbing, and electrical companies, and they have tried to find uses for it. But again, the most success I've seen is usually from those two industries of cleaning and landscaping. But I'll show it to you, and you can either choose to use it or not. It is included with everybody's account. So again, enough of the slideshows, enough of me on my soapbox here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the price book in real time. So here is my company, and we're going to go right into our price book. And I think what would be best is I'm going to just kind of go down the list over here, and each item that I talk about, when I pick an item, we'll talk about what's available in here. So the first thing is the services. Now, as we can see here, I have a couple of different industries, and you can always select your industry from up here. I get the question all the time of, I can't seem to find my industry in here. Like, why do I need to have an industry first? Really short and sweet, it is what it is. You have to have some kind of industry. So if you are any one of these industries or are related in any sense to any one of these industries, you just simply need to select it as a starting point. And one of the questions, which I will get to a little bit later, this cannot be changed. The name of the industry cannot be changed. So if you are going through this, make sure you find one that is geared a little bit more closer to your actual business. So as we can see, my different industries right here, when we are looking at services, we can go directly into a specific service, and that is going to lead us to our first subcategory. And within our subcategory here, we can see all of the other little categories that I've created over time. So within these, you can always go directly into it to go ahead and start pulling up your services. Before I really start doing that, I'm going to kind of detour just a little bit because I'm sure a lot of you see this right here and this right here. And I get the question all the time when it comes to passing credit card fees and also when it comes to passing the if you are using WiseTech, how to pass that um, consumer financing fee. Now, I always say I am not a lawyer. Make sure that where you are, that is acceptable. But as you can see in here, what I have done, and I touched about this on a previous session, is that if you are looking for ways to pass these fees to your customer, first, make sure that you can legally do that. And two, one of the best ways I've found to do this is that you can create your own subcategory. As you can see, I took air conditioner, created air conditioner with commissions, or I'm sorry, with that's supposed to be consumer financing, and air conditioner with credit card fee. And I will show you all in a little bit how we can basically increase the prices on these particular categories. And if a customer chooses to pay with cash or check, we can just then go ahead and give them a discount. But moving forward, as we continue to move through the price book, you may have some more subcategories about specific air conditioners. Mine just went straight into my specific services. So with my services here, you can see that they all already have a name, already have a description. Some of them already have pricing, mostly for test purposes. So an AC service call is typically not going to be 155 bucks, probably for a lot of you, but that's just what I have in here. So going further into a specific service, we can see here that there's a place for the service name, and we can place a picture, which we saw a little bit on the slide deck, but you can always add an image. A question I constantly get is, do we have stock images that can go into our price book? The answer is no. This is really on you all. You have to go to Google or wherever you want to go grab your pictures for your services. You need to download them and then upload them to each particular service. Next we have is the description. So you can certainly feel free to type out any description that you want or describe the work that is involved with this particular service any way that you want. Otherwise, there is the AI button right there. So if you want it to write something for you, you can just go ahead and start typing something out. That is not how you spell diagnose. There we go. All right, and see, easy peasy. Went ahead, gave me a nice little paragraph here, and I can click use this to go ahead and stick it right into my description. Made it real simple for you all. Continuing on down, I'll talk about everything on the right-hand side in just a moment, but we do have a task code, and I get the question all the time is, what is a task code? Task codes is really a code that you can go ahead and put on any particular service so that instead of having to go through your price book and search by name or search by industry, things like that, if you and your team have a system of knowing that a specific service is a specific code, you can go ahead and put that in as the task code. So when we are searching for it for estimates and invoices, we can just go ahead and punch in the task code and that service will come up. Now, down below, some of you may have seen this and may not. So let me take a step back really quick. And for these particular windows right here, this is for anybody that is using flat rate. And as I mentioned, I do kind of want to take a step back here. And I'm just going to open another tab. To get these particular fields here, what you would need to do is go to the App Store and actually turn on what we have for flat rate pricing right here. So I have mine enacted. Even if you don't do flat rate pricing, you can still enact it and still use your price book the way that you want to. It's just by turning it on, that gives us access to being able to put in our labor rates for this particular service, as well as add any materials that are going to be used in this service as well. So for the labor rates, you do have the ability. I will show you where you can start adding your labor rates. It is in the price book, but just again, focusing right here on our services. For the labor rates, I can go ahead and say that this particular service right here is going to require one of my test laborers. And for that, I can go ahead and say that, you know, this diagnostic trip usually takes about 2 hours. This is probably not a good example. Let's do the apprentice. There we go. Because now we can see they do have an hourly cost. And if the hourly cost is $20 to me, the 2 hours is going to say that that's going to be, I'm sorry, and it's $40 to the customer per hour. These 2 hours mean that just for 2 hours of labor, it's going to cost the customer $80. Down below here, we have our materials, so you can continue to add any materials that are required for this particular service. And as you can see with mine, I don't really have too many materials in my price book, but I always use my trusty thermostat here. And that thermostat costs me $30 to buy from the vendor. I charge $75 just for the piece itself. So that way it breaks down my cost and my price to the customer. Customer's never going to see what our price is, or at least, I'm sorry, our cost. And then moving further down, there is the option for online booking. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did a full session on online booking. So if you want to kind of see where all of this starts to come into play and what this moving piece is, I recommend taking a look at that. But just kind of in short here, this is where you can say, I want this service to be part of my online booking. You can put in how long that usually takes, assign an employee to it, mark it as if a customer selects it either as a job or an estimate. And you can also put in troubleshooting questions to have your customer answer when they are filling out the inquiry form on your online booking. Now, scooting over to the right-hand side, over here, there is the option to calculate the flat rate price. So as I mentioned, turning on flat rate really doesn't do, really kind of opens up these for you, but you do not need to use it. So even though I have flat rate turned on, I can say that, no, this service is not going to be flat rate service. I can go ahead and put in what type of unit is going to be needed for when it comes to billing. So anybody that does like gutter cleaning, if you do it by the foot, um, my painting pros, if you do square feet, things like that, that is where you can go ahead and change up your different values so that as you start to add those values on your estimates and invoices, we can start to go ahead and get that correct price as well as be able to track our costs. With calculating the flat rate price, when I turn that on, as you can see, it gives you the full breakdown of your labor and your materials and gives you that price that the customer is going to see and have to pay at the end of the day, and also give you what those costs are. Customer's never going to see any of this information again besides just that price at the end of the day. Down below here, we can see what our markup is on this particular material from our costs to the price. And we can also see our gross margin when it comes to our costs versus the price that we are charging our customer. I get this question all the time on how to be able to basically set up so that tax is applied automatically. I always say that it's within your price book. So you do need to go into your services, which I know a lot of you typically don't push taxes on services, more on the material side, but there is a switch here where you can make this taxable or not. QuickBooks Online, I don't really talk about this too much, but really, I think I would refer back to our QuickBooks session because I believe that this was explained a little bit better than I can. So from here, we do have the ability to save it. So once we have created our service, we can save it and it'll go right in the price book. There is also an option to add it to favorites so that when we are going through an estimate or an invoice, this item is going to be towards the top of the drop-down menu. That way we can, if it's a common thing that we pick, we can just go ahead and pick it right there from the top instead of having to dig for it. So that's it for the services. Now, if we go on into materials, kind of the same idea. Although we don't have industries, we do have categories. So you can continue to make as many categories as you want. For me, I'm just going to go into here into tools. And as you can see, very similar to the service price book, we can go into any particular material, can upload an image. So if you have an image of the material you use, you can certainly add it to the system. You can put in your name, the description, your part number. So for a lot of you that keep track of your part numbers, you can certainly put it in here. And this use material markups, this is again part of the flat rate. I was just responding to a pro today that I turned this on for them. They typically aren't flat rate, but it does help them when it comes to their pricing within their book. And I am going to show you all material markups a little bit later in the session. But essentially what it's doing is it allows me to put in what the cost of that material it is. And with my material markups enabled, it's going to automatically mark up my material to what I should be charging my customer. Again, further down, we can go ahead and put in whatever type of value is included with this particular material. And for those people that keep asking me about how do I tax just simply my materials, you can go ahead and flip the switch right here. Next on here is the pricing forms. So again, we did do a full session on this before, but I will just kind of point out some of the main things. But with the pricing form, you have the ability to create a couple of different options. So with my pricing form here, as I'm looking at landscaping, again, very similar to our services and materials, we can go ahead and put in a name, description, we can put in an image. We can also automatically have this pricing form be added to new jobs and estimates. So if these pricing forms work out for your business, instead of actually typing out line items, you can always have these be automatically added to your new jobs and estimates, and your technicians can just run through the pricing forms. You can also mark if these items need to be taxed. And down below, this is where you can go ahead and say if you want to show this in your online booking section. Again, we talked about this in the online booking session, where you can have your pricing forms enabled so the customers can go through that as well. Now, with the pricing forms, building them out, we have a couple of different options. So the first one is quantity select, and I think I have one down here. Maybe not. So let's just go ahead and add one. Quantity select. For this one, I know I'm doing landscaping. Yeah, let's do trees. So in this particular example, if I'm going to say it's $50 to go ahead and remove a tree. With quantity select, when we look at a pricing form, I can go ahead and say 1, 2, 3, and then that's going to go ahead and spit out $150 as my subtotal. Couple of the other options on here is like numerical range. So for that, that is again I find it geared more towards painting and landscaping, because for this we can say, all right, if you want me to mow your front lawn, if it's anywhere between 50 square feet and 1,000 square feet, that's going to cost you $500. If it's anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000, it's going to cost you more. Again, makes it really simple that we can just go ahead and select our options and it will spit out our subtotal. There is also an option for multi-select. And as you can see how I put it is options a la carte. So if you want to list out a bunch of different services that you can provide, the customer can go ahead and opt into which ones that they want to have performed. And that way it will go ahead and spit out the subtotal. So in my example here, if you want us to do the bush trimming and the lawn mowing, but not everything else, you can make those selections and your subtotal will simply be the 175. The other option on here, I'm sorry, the other option on here is single select. I am still trying to find kind of the best ways to use single select. Really, the two examples I always talk about when I talk about single select is if you are a cleaning company, a good example of this is when you go to somebody's house, do they have pets or do they not have pets? If they have pets, you can go ahead and mark that as a single selection, that there is an increased price for having to clean up the house with pets in it. Um, Another example that I've seen is like, shoot, I'm trying to think of it, and I don't want to hang us up too much. Cleaning. So, do you want a deep clean or a regular clean? Obviously, a regular clean may just be the services included. A deep clean will probably incorporate an extra charge. So, those single selects allow you to just go ahead and opt into whatever that selection is going to be. The other thing in the price book is the estimate templates. So over time, I'm sure a lot of you have seen as we have gone through estimates and we have made improvements to estimates, when you go up to the option button in the upper left-hand corner, it allows you to save an estimate as a template. So if it is a common thing that you typically fill out, one of my companies the other day was talking about how they created a template to already include like the diagnostic fee and the service fee, and also include uh, the deposit on there. You can go ahead and do this. Every time you create an estimate, go on up to option 1 in the upper left-hand corner, hit the 3 dots, and you can save it as a template. So within our price book here, we can go ahead and take a look at some of those templates. And as you can see, it already has the template name, already has the name of the service, the description, and the line items. as well as the materials. Basically, you can build this out any way you like, save it, and you can always select it when you are building out your estimate instead of having to build it from scratch every time. Now, moving on down towards the settings. As I was helping out somebody today, they were asking me, how do I upload my price book? And whenever I meet people for the first time as they go through onboarding, I always want to import their prices, or I'm sorry, import their services and materials. Now, if you are on Max and Max Plus, you most likely are going to get paired up with a data transfer rep, which will mostly handle this for you. However, if you want to do it yourself or are savvy enough to do it yourself, it's really not that hard. You can come on into here and you can export your services. So I'm just going to say that first because I'm thinking of it as me being new to the system. What you would want to do is you would want to hit export, and we will send you the CSV file, which is the spreadsheet that breaks down the correct format that we need for you to go ahead and upload your services into our system correctly. So at my example from today, my pro got the list of materials from their vendor and it all has the vendor price in there. So they wanted to know, how do we go ahead and increase, how do we put this into our price book and then be able to reflect our customer prices? So for them, I told them what you'll want to do is you'll want to export your materials list so you get that spreadsheet format. That is the way that we need it in order to upload correctly into the system. Go ahead and take all of those items from the vendor, make sure you put them in those particular items, and you can go ahead and put in the prices. And we're going to talk about material markups in a sec, but I told them to go ahead and turn on flat rate because then they can go ahead and start setting up their tiers so that their price book starts to reflect their customer pricing. Now, next is the tax rates. If you do push taxes to your customers, you can go on in here and you can add all the tax rates that are needed for your particular city, county, state, whatever you need. I get a question all the time, which is, can there be like a specific default tax rate? I have played with this several times. I have not been able to find a way to make it a default. For some reason, whenever I go through my jobs and estimates, it seems to always default to one specific one that is not necessarily the one at the top. So I'm just going to flat out say is that there is no way to set a default tax rate. You'll just have to select them manually one by one. And when you need them, we talked about this when we went through jobs and employee training. Now, the service price adjuster, this is how I tell people when it comes to, I know we're kind of the economy is kind of going up and down at this time, so prices are fluctuating. How do we manage our price book while all of this is going on? So what you can do, we made it simple with the service price adjuster, is that you can go into all of your particular services. Now, I'm going to point out that this does not include materials. It is only for services. And what it allows you to do is, I'm sure you all can remember seeing on my last screen all the different industries I had, but I can go into each of those industries, select which particular categories that I want to include in the service price adjuster. This is essentially what I did when I went for heating and air conditioning and I wanted to add the credit card fee. So I selected the option that I needed, went up here to the top and told the book to go ahead and increase it by, 3.5%. You also do have the ability, as you see up here, to decrease the price. So if you, for any reason, need to decrease your prices by a certain percentage, you can certainly do that as well. The next thing here in the price book is the labor rates. Now, this is only available for if you turned on flat rate. You all saw when I showed you a particular service that it allowed me to pick which one of these options to be associated with this particular service. You can go ahead and add as many labor rates as you want so that you can pull them for each of those particular services. Going to quickly talk back a little bit on Profit Rhino. One of the downsides that I always say that there is about the Profit Rhino price book for the people who are interested in it is that it can only reflect one labor rate at a time. So if I had the Profit Rhino price book and I say that you're going to reflect the lead technician here. The whole book is going to be based off of these labor rates right here. With the Housecall Pro price book, you all saw that I was on each particular service able to say, I want to use the apprentice labor rate on this one, or I can use the lead tech on this one. So labor rates is where you can go ahead and put in all the labor rates for everybody on your team. Now, lastly, material markups. Again, this is part of the flat rate option. So even if you don't do flat rate, but still want to have the system calculate your cost, or I'm sorry, your price to the customer, you'll want to go into this section, because this section breaks up our prices, or I'm sorry, our costs into different tiers. So in my first tier, any material in my price book that costs me 1 cent to $100, I'm going to mark it up 150% so that I can make 60% profit on it. Now, you do have the ability to go on in here and you can make any changes. If you want to make changes to the cost range, if you want to make changes to the markup or the profit, you can do so, and it will go ahead and reflect to the new inputs that you put in. You can even continue to keep adding more tiers. So I was working with somebody that really have markup tiers that go all the way to $2,500. So you can continue to have as many markup tiers as you want. So with that, that's kind of all of the ins and outs of the price book. We talked about services, we talked about materials, and we talked about the pricing forms and being able to do the stuff on the back end to upload our price books and talk about those taxes, make any changes to prices, and our labor rates. So with that, I will go ahead and open the floor to any questions. As usual, I only see one in the chat, so I'm gonna give the chat just a moment here for a couple more to come through, and I will go ahead and answer some of the ones that we have prepared for today. So the first question I saw is from AJ, who is talking about online booking pre-built price book. Has anyone found a quick way to bulk disable the availability of these or update pricing without deleting the whole category? This pre-built price book category is not available to be edited via export import that I see of. So AJ, if you are here, you may want to set up a support call so that we can take a further look at what you are talking about. The way I understood it is that I think you're talking about the industry, because the industry is really the only thing that cannot be changed within the price book. Categories can always be renamed, can always be added or removed, and yeah, that's really it. So I think we need a little bit more clarification. If you do need some assistance, and since this is also geared towards online booking, I would recommend setting up a support call. Victor, for everyone, hey everyone, for those of you using Pricebook, you know that each service line item has materials tied to it. Is there a way to automate the following process? When a technician completes a job, an automation triggers a report based on the materials used for that service line item. This report is then automatically sent via email to a designated person, example of the warehouse manager, detailing the materials used and which technician used them. This would help us streamline restocking by allowing us to quickly place an order with our vendor. Okay, so Victor, we don't have a sense of when these items are added onto onto a work order or into an estimate, that it triggers an email to be sent to somebody. What I think you would want to take a look at is the material tracking report. If you go to your reporting section, and we did do a whole session on reporting, but I'll just quickly show you if you are here today. When you do go to reporting, and we go to material usage, this is where you can set up a date range. So if you wanted to look at the last week, the last 30 days, or even look at the day itself, we can see what items were added to a work order or an estimate. And that way we can even get further information regarding the vendor or which employee was using that particular material. So I think we do have something what you are looking for. it just does not shoot an email to the warehouse manager. You would have to come into reporting, and you can pull this report, and then you can actually send the report to your warehouse manager. Next question is from Andrew. Is there an option for my price book I built with photos to look like how it does on the desktop and on mobile? When I'm building estimates in the field with my iPad, it shows just a list top to bottom with no photos. I want it to look how it looks on the desktop. So I tested this myself before our session today, and I was able to actually see the photos. So I'm not sure if this is something that you may need a support call for so that we can take a further look to see if there's something that is just being misplaced. But as far as I know, when I have gone through my estimates and my jobs, that when I go into the price book, and let me see if I can make it work for us today. Yep. So here I will show you an example. So if I take a step back, I went into my price book here on an estimate, and I know I don't have too many photos in here, but when I went over into air conditioning, where I know I have my service with a picture, you can see that there's the picture right up there. And even when I select on the service, there's the picture right there. So I would probably recommend that you set up a support call so we can take a further look at what you are doing. Next question from Sarah. Is there a feature toggle on off when using a price book that allows the contractor to see all material used, but not make the individual price of the thing facing towards the customer where all they see is the total price? Um, so that's not necessarily in your price book. I'm going to go ahead and share what you are looking for is actually in your invoice and estimate settings. So when we are looking at, I'm just going to pull up an invoice, the customer view. So for the customer view here, this is what you're talking about, I'm pretty sure, is that we want our contractor or sub to be able to see all of this, but not the customer. Now, this information is directly on the estimate, directly on the invoice when we send it. When we create a job, our subcontractors or our contractors will be able to see this information. But if you don't want your customers to see this information, simply come over to either in your accounts, I would say come to your account settings and go to estimates or invoices, customer view, and you can go into services or materials, and you can remove like unit price. So there you go. You saw the unit price was gone. I can even remove the quantity so that that way the customer only sees the final price for that particular service. You can even take this a step further. Some of pros I've worked with just simply want the customer to see a subtotal. You can do that as well. Again, this is not in your price book. This is actually on your estimates and invoices. Andrew, do we have to manually update and add tax rates for a tax zone, or is there an automatic way of doing so? As I kind of mentioned earlier, when it comes to the tax rates, those you do need to add them to the system. And when you're actually on the job site, you do actually have to pick which one that you want to apply. And the reason that this is not automatic is because every business is different. So not every business is going to be pushing taxes no matter where they are. So that is why it has to be manually done. And looks like a new one came in from Layla here. And I did kind of answer this earlier. Can you permanently set a customer to a specific tax rate? The answer is no. Again, it has to be manual because the system can't recognize, this time we're charging taxes, this time we're not. That's why it's just always going to be manual. So those are our prepared questions. Let's see some of the ones that have come through the chat. I'd love to know how to add a 3% credit card transaction fee automatically, either with a toggle on or toggle off or something. So Rainbow, for this, again, with passing that to the customer, I always say make sure it's legal. And if it is, really the ways that I coach this for people is the first step is if you do not push taxes to customers, you can go ahead and put that 3% as a tax rate, and then that you can apply it. But you just got to be aware when you are doing your bookkeeping that those taxes are reflecting your credit card fees. So that is kind of the easiest, most simple way to do it, but does require some acknowledgement of what you are doing. That's why I usually encourage people to go ahead and use the service price adjuster to essentially almost copy an entire category within their price book, increase those prices by the 3% so that if a customer says, hey, I'm going to use a credit card on this particular service, we can go on in, switch out the normal service with the one with the credit card fee already applied. Or I've had people that just simply across the board increase their entire price book by the 3%. And if a customer wants to pay by cash or check, they go ahead and apply a 3% discount. All right, next question from Holly. We have the customer payment schedule and all services included, etc., saved under services. However, it technically goes in the materials section because that's the bottom of the invoice. I've tried to save estimates for templates, but won't let me. I'm assuming because it's technically not in the right section. How do I fix that? Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to understand here. All services included. Saved under services. However, it technically goes on the material section. I'm sorry, Holly. I'm going to recommend that you set up a support call so that we can take a further look. I'm just a little confused, and I know we're getting a little close on time. Um, so I'm interested in learning more about what you are doing and obviously how we can fix this for you. All right, Ulysses. I had an issue with the picture that was it was a JPEG. That's that's good feedback, Ulysses. I personally, a lot of my pictures were JPEGs and they seem to be working. So I don't know if it's a specific issue or may just be a bug. But I personally haven't seen much of this. It sounds like you've seen quite a bit of it. I'm kind of curious. It might be due to a browser issue. It could be a file sizing issue. That I really do not have an answer of why it may not be working as a JPEG. I like the AI in the price book. Is that extra or do we already have it? Um, I believe that I know it's still in beta, so it should, as far as I know, there is no increase in cost to having the AI on your price book. So once that is rolled out to everybody, everybody should have access to it. And that's it for the Zoom questions. Anything come through Facebook, Chris?
Let me check one last time, but I don't think so. Nope, we seem to be good over there. Um, Quick call out though, if you are watching this on Facebook later and you have any questions, you can throw it in the chat and we will circle back with you and answer those. And for those of you that are here, Holly, Ulysses, if you need a little bit of extra help, Lauren, Jean, she's in the chat here. She's in our Facebook group. Feel free to either make a post or send her a DM. We'll try and help you guys. Or better yet, you can chat in and get help a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Or also, as I was talking about the support calls, I know in the past we've kind of put the link in here, but you can always reach out to the chat support and specifically ask for a support call, and they will book one for you.
yeah. I'm just looking at our chat here. Um, no, I'm having a hard time understanding what you're asking here.
That's a good point, Rainbow. That that is good feedback. Again, I just think that I think the reason we're a little bit hesitant towards doing that is just simply because it's not legal in every state. But it is good feedback.
Yeah. Leslie, I see your comment here in Facebook. I will have to double check that. Phil, I don't know if you know anything about this. She's saying that items are not downloading into QBO income accounts correctly. When will this be fixed?
Oof.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's the QB world. I'm sorry, I do not have a great answer for that. Um, my only suggestion would be is that I know that you can reach out to our chat support and specifically ask for a QuickBooks rep, and they will honestly have more and better information than I can give you.
Yeah, agreed. Probably the best course of action there. Um, Naha, I just wanted to monitor the chat. I know you've said a couple of things in here. If there's something we can help you with, feel free to send me an email. Um, or just reply. You're registered here on Zoom, so just reply and we'll get an email from you, and we'll try and help you. Um, Having a hard time understanding your comments here, so let us know. Otherwise, y'all, I think that's gonna do it. We're just about almost done at the hour here. So, really quick, want to invite you all to office hours. Office hours is every Friday on Zoom and live in the Facebook group. So, if you want the registration link to that, let me know. I'll drop it in either chat. That's at 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, every single Friday. So I'll be there. Shayna will probably be there. Usually Lauren and Jessica Peterson also join us most weeks. So encourage you guys to come get help, give us feedback. Rainbow, awesome. We'll see you there. I think you were with us last week. So awesome. Otherwise, wish everybody a great weekend, great Friday tomorrow, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks,
Sounds
Phil.
good. Later.